I don't remember the first thing she said to me. I just remember the way she said it. Quiet, like she wasn't sure if I'd heard her, but part of her didn't care if I did. Her name was Mara. She lived next door, husband always away, house always too quiet. I'd see her sometimes through the thin hedge between our yards, watering her plants in slippers, humming to herself. She had that kind of stillness that made sound feel unnecessary. I was 24, just moved in, working late nights, half alive from coffee and deadlines. She used to tease me about it. "You'll burn out before you start living," she'd say, voice soft but firm, like someone who'd already burned once and learned the cost. That afternoon, I was fixing the fence that separated our properties, or tried to. She leaned over, elbows on the post, watching. "You work too hard," she said. "Let me loosen you up." She laughed after she said it, maybe to make it sound like a joke. But something in her eyes stayed, like she regretted softening it. I laughed too, but my chest felt tight. The air between us was warm and heavy. The sky had that late afternoon gold that makes everything look softer than it really is. I wiped the sweat from my neck, and she reached out, a small, thoughtless gesture, and brushed a bit of sawdust off my arm. Her hand lingered just long enough for me to forget to breathe. "Sorry," she said, pulling back too fast. "It's okay," I answered, though it came out quieter than I meant. We stood there, facing each other, pretending the fence still mattered. The neighborhood noise faded. A dog barked somewhere far away. A car door slammed. But in that stretch of silence, all I could hear was the sound of her bracelet sliding against her wrist as she crossed her arms. She looked at me then, really looked, like she was weighing something she couldn't say out loud. "You remind me of someone," she said finally. "Yeah," she nodded. "Someone who used to want everything, before he got tired." Her voice cracked a little on that last word, and she caught it, straightened her shoulders, smiled again, too bright. I wanted to ask about him, whoever he was, but the look in her eyes told me she wouldn't answer. Not yet. Instead, I said the only thing that came to mind. "You don't seem tired." She laughed, a low, careful sound. "That's because you don't see me in the mornings." She turned then, walking back toward her porch, her hand trailing along the fence post. I watched the sunlight trace her skin, the lines of her fingers, the curve of her wrist. Halfway to her door, she stopped. "Hey," she called over her shoulder. "You should come by sometime. I make decent coffee." "Sure," I said too fast. She smiled without turning fully around. "Not today. You'd overthink it." And then she was gone, door closing behind her, slow enough to make me wonder if she wanted me to follow, fast enough to make sure I didn't. The yard felt suddenly colder. I stared at the door, still hearing her voice in my head. "You work too hard. Let me loosen you up." For some reason, it didn't sound like a joke anymore. Then a sound. Her door opened again, just an inch, a pause, and her voice soft, almost a whisper. "Tomorrow, around 6. The door clicked shut. Her door opened before I could knock. "6 on the dot," she said, almost smiling. "You're either very punctual or very curious." "Maybe both," I said. The air smelled like roasted beans and something faintly citrus. Her perfume, maybe, or just her skin after a shower. She wore a loose cardigan, sleeves pushed to her elbows, the kind of casual comfort that somehow looked deliberate. "Come in," she said, stepping back. "Ignore the mess." There was no mess, just a house that looked lived in by one person, the kind of quiet that feels full of memory. A pair of men's boots by the door, still there but collecting dust. I didn't ask. She handed me a mug, fingers brushing mine, brief, but enough. "Cream or sugar?" "Black's fine." She nodded, studying me over the rim of her own cup. "You don't talk much, do you?" "Depends who I'm with." "Good answer," she said softly. "Dangerous, though." The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable, just too aware. Every movement, every breath seemed to mean more than it should. I watched her sit across from me, crossing her legs slowly, then pretending not to notice me noticing. "You're married," I said before I could stop myself. Her eyes lifted. "Was." A pause. Then quieter. Technically still am. He's been gone for a while. Work, travel, something that keeps him anywhere but here. I didn't know what to say, so I nodded, looked down at my coffee. She smiled, not kindly, not cruelly, just knowing. It's not what you think. We stopped being anything long before he left. Her voice softened, and for a second, I could see the tiredness behind her calm. I used to think loneliness meant being alone, she said. Turns out, it's when someone's right there and you still feel invisible. She leaned back, exhaling slowly. The cardigan slipped a little off her shoulder. I looked away, but too late. She noticed. You blush easily, she said, amused. Sorry. Don't be. It's refreshing. We both laughed, but it came out uneven. Her laughter faded first. Then she reached across the table, her hand landing near mine. Not touching, just close enough to change the air. You remind me of who I was before I stopped trying, she whispered. The clock on the wall ticked too loudly. I could feel the pulse in my wrist. She noticed that too. I saw her eyes drop, then rise again, conflicted. Maybe you should go, she said, almost reluctantly. Maybe, I echoed, not moving. The distance between our hands felt thin as breath. And then just a brush. Her fingers grazed mine, deliberate this time. Neither of us spoke. Outside, the sun had slipped away, leaving the room half in shadow, half in gold. When I finally stood to leave, she didn't follow me to the door. But as I reached for the handle, I heard her voice, soft, almost trembling. Next time, don't knock. The next time I saw her, it wasn't planned. She was outside again. Hair pinned up, sleeves rolled, washing her car with a quiet rhythm that made the whole street feel slower. Morning, I said, stepping closer to the fence. She looked up, surprised, then smiled. You again. Don't you ever rest? Trying, I said. Does this count? Barely, she said, but there was warmth in it. Her hand slipped on the hose, and water sprayed across the fence, catching me square in the chest. She gasped. Oh God, I'm sorry. I laughed, dripping. You're fine. It's just water. She grabbed a towel, walked over, and before I could react, she was dabbing my shirt. Slow, careful, fingers pressing just enough to leave a trail of heat. Really, it's okay, I said, but my voice came out lower, uneven. She looked up, for a second too long. Her hand stilled against my collarbone. That's when her phone buzzed. The sound snapped everything. She pulled back, quick, face shifting. A name flashed across the screen. She silenced it fast, too fast. Everything okay? I asked. She hesitated, then forced a small laugh. Just someone I haven't told I'm fine yet. I didn't ask who. I already knew the answer she wouldn't give. The space between us stayed charged, like the pause before thunder. She handed me the towel, trying to reclaim her composure. You should probably change before you catch a cold. I don't mind, I said. Her eyes flicked up again, searching mine. A quiet, dangerous second where neither of us blinked. Then a voice called from across the yard. Hey, Mara. We both turned. Her friend, the woman from 2 houses down, was waving, walking toward us. Mara stepped back fast, almost too naturally. Hi, Tessa, she called, her tone suddenly bright. I stood there, towel still in hand, pretending I wasn't the reason her pulse was visible at her throat. Tessa looked between us, curious but polite. Didn't know you had company. Just a neighbor, Mara said, voice light, practiced. He was helping with the fence. Tessa smiled at me, then back to her. You always did attract the helpful ones. Mara laughed, the kind of laugh that covers something else. Go grab the tea. I'll be right in. When Tessa disappeared inside, Mara turned to me again. The brightness dropped from her face like a mask slipping. I shouldn't, she started, but didn't finish. I stepped closer. Not enough to touch, just enough to feel the warmth between us again. You don't have to say it, I said. She looked at me, eyes dark, searching for a reason to stop. Her hand lifted, stopped midair, hovered near my cheek, trembling slightly, the space between us collapsing. Then she exhaled, slow, deliberate. You should go before she comes back. I didn't move. Neither did she. The sound of footsteps inside broke the silence. She stepped back, but her fingers brushed mine as she turned. Quick, unplanned, like a secret that slipped through both of us. Tomorrow, she whispered, so quiet it barely existed. And then she was gone again, leaving the towel, the hose, and the air still thick with what almost happened. It had been 3 days since the moment in her yard. 3 days of pretending I hadn't replayed it every night. That evening, I found myself outside again. Not by plan, not really. Just walking, restless, until my steps stopped in front of her house. Her lights were on. One window open. The faint sound of a record playing. Slow, old jazz, soft enough to make the air feel warmer. She appeared at the door before I could leave. You're predictable, she said, voice quiet but not surprised. I was just passing by. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Come in before you freeze, trying to think of a reason. Inside, the music filled the silence they both carried. A single lamp cast her in soft gold, the shadows moving when she did. She poured a little wine, handed me a glass without looking. You've been avoiding me, she said. Trying to. She laughed once, sharp, then softer. And how's that working? I didn't answer. Her expression changed, something between hurt and amusement. You're too young to be this careful. I'm trying not to make things harder. She stepped closer, slow. And yet here you are. She was near enough that I could smell her perfume. Not floral, something quieter, like warm linen and rain. Her hand brushed my arm as she passed to put her glass down. It wasn't an accident. I keep thinking about that day, she said. You looked at me like I was. She stopped, searching for the word. Like I was still someone worth noticing. I swallowed. You are. The words landed heavier than I meant. She blinked, breath-catching. Don't say things like that. Why not? Because I might start believing you. Her voice broke a little. Then she laughed again, but this time it shook. Mara, I said, reaching out before I could stop myself. She didn't pull away. My fingers touched her wrist, lightly, as if asking. Her heartbeat jumped under my thumb. You don't know what you're doing, she whispered. Then tell me. She looked up at me, eyes glassy, raw. You make me forget how old I am. You make me forget to care, I said. The silence after that was unbearable. Her hand came up, touched my face. A slow, uncertain line from jaw to temple. My breath hitched. She leaned in, not enough to close the distance, just enough that I could feel it. Her hair brushed my cheek. I can't, she whispered, but she didn't move away. The record cracked faintly in the background, looping on the same note. Her fingers tightened on my shirt, pulling me just a little closer. Mara, I started, and that's when the knock came. 3 sharp raps on the door. She froze. A man's voice, muffled but unmistakable. Mara? You home? Her eyes widened. The color drained from her face. Neither of us moved. The record kept spinning, the same quiet note repeating. The world caught between one breath and the next. Mara didn't move. Neither did I. The sound of the knock still hung in the room like it hadn't decided whether to fade or strike again. Mara! The man's voice came again, firmer this time. She inhaled sharply and stepped away from me. Too fast, almost tripping on the rug. Her hands trembled as she fixed her hair, then her cardigan, as if that could undo what nearly happened. Who is it? I asked quietly. She didn't answer. Instead, she turned off the record, and in the silence that followed, every heartbeat sounded too loud. Another knock. It's me. She closed her eyes. It's him, she whispered. I froze. Your husband. She nodded once. The air between us went thin. She looked at me then, not with guilt, but something worse. Fear. You should go, she said. Now. But when I reached for the door to the back, she caught my wrist. The touch was quick, desperate. Not yet, she whispered. Please. Her fingers stayed there, shaking slightly before she let go. Then she called out, voice steadying by force. Coming. She opened the door only halfway. I stood just out of view behind the kitchen wall, breath held. The man's voice was low, worn. Didn't think you'd be home. Work ended early, she said. You're back sooner than expected. Yeah. A pause. We need to talk. His tone wasn't angry, just tired, like something long overdue. From my hidden corner, I saw only his shadow, tall, familiar in a way that made the house feel smaller. Mara leaned against the doorframe, her body angled like she was keeping him out and herself in. Not tonight, she said softly. Please. Silence stretched again. Then, suddenly, his voice dropped lower, almost a whisper, but clear enough to cut through the wall. I know you're not alone. My chest tightened. She didn't respond, just stood there. Then she exhaled, long and uneven. You lost the right to ask who I spend time with. A heartbeat later, the sound of footsteps retreating. Then the car door, the engine, gone. She closed the door slowly, both hands pressed flat against it. I waited for her to turn. When she finally did, she looked different, like something had cracked and light was leaking through. He's known for a while, she said. About us. There is no us, I said. Came out too fast, too defensive. She laughed once, low, bitter. Tell that to your hands. I realized they were still trembling. I didn't plan any of this, she said. You should believe that. I do. She stepped closer, only one step, but it felt like everything moved with her. Then stop pretending you don't want to know what happens next. I should have left, but when she brushed past me, shoulder against chest, breath catching, I didn't. Tomorrow, she whispered again, but this time it wasn't an invitation. It sounded like a warning, and before I could ask what she meant, she was gone down the hall. The faint scent of her perfume, the only proof she'd been there that I didn't sleep. Every sound outside felt like it might be her. A step, a door, a breath that didn't belong to the night. By morning, I'd decided to stay away. By evening, I was standing at her door again. The light inside was dim. The same record from before played, softer this time, like a memory repeating itself. She opened the door halfway. I told you not to come, she said. I heard you, I said. I came anyway. She exhaled through her nose, shaking her head, but there was no anger in it. Just exhaustion, the kind that comes from fighting yourself too long. Do you even know what you're doing? No, I said. Do you? That made her smile barely. Maybe that's the problem. I stepped inside. She didn't move to stop me. The room felt smaller than I remembered, or maybe it was just us, the space between shrinking until every breath had weight. Mara, I said, and her name came out more like a confession than a word. She looked up, eyes glinting in the lamplight. If we do this? We already have, I said. Her laugh broke halfway, trembling. You think this is simple? No, I said quietly. I think it's real. Something in her face shifted. A small surrender, almost invisible. She reached up, brushed the hair from her face, then caught my wrist before I could drop my hand. Her fingers stayed there, light at first, then firmer. You shouldn't make promises you don't understand. I'm not promising, I said. I'm choosing. The words hung between us. She stepped closer, slow, careful, until the space between us was gone except for the air we kept trying not to breathe. Her voice was a whisper near my ear. You'll regret this. Maybe, I said. So will you. That made her laugh again, soft this time. The sound of something breaking and mending at once. Her hand slid up my chest, stopped just below my collar. I could feel her pulse through her fingertips. She closed her eyes. I hate that you make me feel alive. Then don't stop, I whispered. She opened her eyes, the look in them clear, raw, no longer hiding. The moment stretched, one heartbeat, two, until the air itself seemed to lean in. Then she pressed her forehead to mine. No kiss, just that. I can't promise forever, she said. I'm not asking for it. The record reached its last track. The same quiet note repeating, softer, fading. When she finally stepped back, she smiled. Not the practiced kind, but something real, almost painful. "I think we understand each other now," she said. And for the first time, she didn't sound afraid. Morning came slow. Soft light through half-closed curtains. The smell of rain still hanging in the air. I hadn't gone home. Neither of us had said that out loud. But the silence between us made it clear we didn't need to. Mara was by the window, wrapped in an old gray sweater, coffee mug in hand. Her hair was loose, still damp from a shower, the kind of unguarded look she never let anyone see. I watched her for a while before speaking. "You look peaceful," I said. She smiled without turning. "That's a first." I got up, walked over, stopped just behind her. The space between us was close enough for warmth, but not pressure. She leaned back slightly. Not much, just enough to let me know it was okay. "I keep waiting for it to feel wrong," she said quietly. "But it doesn't." I nodded. "Maybe that's what scares you." She turned then, studying my face like she was trying to memorize it. "You make everything too simple. Or maybe everyone else makes it too complicated." She laughed, soft and tired. "You know people will talk. They already do. Doesn't bother you?" "It will," I admitted. "Just not enough to walk away." Something in her posture eased. She reached up and brushed my cheek with her fingers, slow, thoughtful, the way you touch something you've finally decided to keep. "I spent so many years trying to do what looked right," she said. "And somehow, I still ended up lonely." "Then stop trying to look right," I said. "Just be." Her eyes softened. "You sound older than you should. You sound younger than you think." That made her smile. A small one, but real. She set her mug down and took my hand. Our fingers interlaced naturally, no hesitation this time. The contact felt quiet but absolute, like an answer neither of us had been brave enough to say out loud. We stood there like that for a long time, the sound of the rain starting again outside, the faint hum of the record player still turned on from last night. Mara leaned her head against my chest. "I don't know where this goes," she said. "Neither do I whispered. "But we're here now." She tilted her face up. I brushed a thumb across her temple, leaned forward, and pressed a slow kiss to her forehead. No urgency, just something steady, certain. When she opened her eyes, I saw it. Not fear, not hesitation, just quiet acceptance. The storm outside kept falling, but inside, everything finally felt still. She smiled. "You work too hard," she murmured, the line that started it all. "Maybe I should keep loosening you up." I laughed, pulling her closer. "Promise, promise," she said, and for once I believed her. "Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?"